Hello again from Budapest, Liszt Ferenc International Airport, Lima Hotel Bravo Papa. We are aligned at runway 13 right, and we are preparing to take off automatically. Just last quick system check. Primary flight display look right. V1 set, we have this speed band. V2 set, cruise altitude set, altimeter set and green. On the navigation display we have a orange announcement. We need to start the transponder before takeoff. Okay, transponder has been started. Now we have TFC blue. Our heading is 127, which is the heading of the runway. We also have a heading of 127 set, which is also the same. And we can switch the speed brake to RTO, and we can check the flaps. Flaps is extended to 1, but actually these takeoff speeds are a bit high, so I think I will change this to 5. So I will raise the flaps to 5 and go down to the FMC and recalculate on the init page the takeoff parameters. So we enter here 5 and we are verifying our speeds. Of course the speeds will be lower. So now V1 is 128 and rotation at 130, and V2 is 141, which has to be introduced in the mode control panel. 141. Now everything is set. We have to check the lights. Okay, landing lights on, taxi lights off, and our position light to strobe and steady. Okay, so we can make the final preparations for the automation to work. Ready to configure the autopilot. First, we start both flight directors, very importantly, both of them. We start the auto throttle and click the VNAV button. If VNAV is not coming up, it means that we missed something during the configuration and VNAV cannot engage. At this moment we are ready to start up the plane. Whenever we hit the command button, the plane will be set to N1 mode by the autopilot, and it will throttle up to 98.1, whatever the limit is at this moment. Let's check parking brake is pulled. We are throttling up the plane around 40%. And disengaging the parking brake. Disengaging the brakes again, and now the plane is moving, so we hit the command button, N1 is active, and we are rolling.
80 knots.
Magenta line is there. Flight director command bar.
V1, rotate.
V1
Positive rate.
keep very close, the horizontal bars very close to the command bar. It is there, yes. Took over the command. Autopilot.
400.
Gear up. Flaps in the meantime is going up as the speed is
1000.
going up. Lateral navigation can engage about 1000 feet. And we are rolling. We can switch off the RTO auto brake setting. Plane is climbing constantly. Good. Speed is right. At this moment we are at 99.1%. Although the climb limit is 96.4, this is happening all the time. But during the climb, the turbine rotation rate is a bit higher, like the limit. Let's put on the next again. Okay. Everything is right. This number is very important here. This is not 180, it means that things were not configured correctly and we have to reload the route. We are climbing above 10,000, we can switch off the lights. Let's throw this on. Everything is just right. We're still in climb mode. We will be in climb mode until Bado, which is at 180, 18,000 feet. We have to set our altimeters because we are above 10,000 feet, which is our transition altitude.
You do not use all approved personal electronic devices. For everyone's safety, please make sure your personal belongings are clear of the aisle.
And we will climb up to 18,000 feet, and we will have a temporary level off at 18,000 feet. This is the calculated value, and from this point to Bado we will have level of flight at 18,000 feet, and after Bado we will continue our climb to our cruise altitude of flight level 220. What happened in the meantime is that I've tried this several times and it didn't work out well, and at the end I observed that my frame rate is too low, so it was about 10. Interestingly, the plane behaved quite normally otherwise and flew reasonably, but the frame rate was too low, and this is because I am on a laptop, and although I have 6 cores, my processor cores are working on a lower frequency. I don't want to overheat mode is thick, so I threw out whatever eye candy I could and simplified all kind of things until I reached this setup where I reached the frame rate around 20, and with this frame rate apparently the plane is behaving much better. Let's take a look around. I love this color, that's why I chose this morning hour, because there's this nice contrast between the cool blue background and the color of the plane in the morning. This is what's ahead of us. Actually, I put in a bit of weather, but I hope this will not drop my frame rate again too much. And doing a recording without the sound part had a slight influence on the frame rate, but not very much, so I hope the sound will work as well. Now we have everything illuminated very nicely by the morning sun. In the meantime, I parked the landing gear on the neutral position, and we can check our tablet. We can take a look on the checklist and procedures. We are climb and cruise. Let's deal with this now. A transition altitude altimeter is set to standard. It's done. Altimeter cross check verified before top of this. This is later. And all these are for later, so we are in this stage. You can check these checklists. They are quite good. Let's check our airport. We will arrive to Limauskar, Whiskey, Vienna, Austria, elevation 600 feet, and we will land at runway 29. We have to set our frequency 109.55 on the nav radius and the course to 295, and even at this point we can do this because this is very important and we want to forget this. So let's check these things. Okay, what was the frequency again? 109.55. Navigation radios are set. Course was 29 minus 1. set. Let's have a look at the navigation display. We have 8 nautical miles to Takeoff. Here we have this flight level 180 or below limit, and from this point we can start to climb. We can observe that temporarily we are at 18,000 feet. And we started our climb up to flight level 220. Let's change the resolution. Here it is our top of climb point. We are approaching our cruise altitude. At this point, engines are in climb mode with an annual limit of 96.4, and the throttle is on N1 mode. At this moment we are running right on the limit, 96.4.
Thousand to go.
Engines were switched in cruise mode, altitude is acquired, everything is running normally. In the meantime, we can take a look on this switch. This is a very important switch. If we want to set manually the takeoff speeds of V1 and V rotate and the takeoff weight, we can do it here. If it is set to auto, then the FMC, when it's set, it is communicating this data to the primary flight display. And during flight, when we start our approach, we can set the reference speed for landing. This is a very important step, we shall not miss it. And we will do it a bit later, not now, because the parameters of the plane, the center of gravity and weight is changing during flight, so we want a more accurate speed. Therefore, we can set this later, somewhere while we are descending. We are running quite at a high speed because of the cost index. We used 100. That number is theoretically between 0 and 500, but I observed that even at 100 we are running just below our maximum speed, so the plane can shake when we are very close to the maximum speed. This red band is showing our upper limit. Therefore, if we want to run more smoothly, we can make a little speed intervention, pushing the speed intervention button and bringing down the speed a bit. Let's see, 2330. I think this will be a bit more safer, more pleasant for passengers. Okay, let's make the announcement that we are cruising, because this is a short cruise, so we will not have much time to play around with this if we want. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, flight deck. Sometimes gives you an opportunity to move out. You have to on your seatbelt fasten for your safety. Knows about it. When we get closer, we'll update the weather gate information. Enjoy the ride. Thank you.
Let's check out our checklists. Interesting that, oh, this is the cruise procedure, yes. This is usual, okay. Required navigation precision. What is another thing? I realized that it's better to set our minimums to barometric minimums, sorry, to radio minimums. If I use the baro minimums, I had problems with landing, so I switched back to radio minimums. And the next checklist. Here it is what I was talking about the setting of the reference speed for landing, and the radio baro minimums as needed. Navigation radio, we already set that. And we have to set the auto brake, verify landing altitude and system altimeter. Whatever that means. Okay. Let's We are closing to the end of our short cruise. This is our top of descent, and now we have to terminate our speed intervention because the plane must slow down. So we need to let the plane control the speed. Because we are speeding probably several times, we will need to apply the air brakes. We are closing to our top of descent, so yeah, altimeters are alright. Let's see what else is there. This one. Okay. This is will be ILS automatic landing. And the route is set for that. So we finished our procedure and we can switch to the descent procedure. What is very important, and we didn't do it, and we have to do it immediately, to lower our altitude, otherwise the plane will start descending to the next altitude. If you don't want to do this step by step, you can just lower it somewhere below the altitude of the runway. If you are not lowering these altitudes on the MCP before your top of descent, the plane will not start descending. It will maintain the altitude set on the MCP. Meaning that the pilot setting is overriding the automation. That's the logic behind it. We have started our descent. Our speed is already lower. As I said, the plane already set the lower speed. Again, made the announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we are descending. Seatbelt sign is on. If you happen to be up and about, please return your seat. Keep your seatbelt fastened for the maintenance flight. On behalf of the flight crew, we appreciate you being with us today. Wish you a very safe and pleasant journey to your destination. Hope to see you back here with us. Thank you.
Our landing altitude is around 600 feet. Deal with this now. Later we will set radio boundary, so checked. Navigation radio, set. We need to set the auto. Let's set the auto.
1,000 to go.
We are optimistic. To burn the tires. Let's check out the navigation speed. Altitude is 6,000. Speeding, it's calculated speed limit is 0. We are running around 270. We are speeding a bit. Let's set the next altitude of 6,000. Sorry, I have to bring this the other way around. 6,000. we have a series of waypoints with 6,000 and above mark. Our navigation precision is right. Although the calculated speed is 240, the plane is using 270. Currently there is a speed restriction at erratically. That was one time. Here it is the top of descent from flight level 180. It is at this corner. From this point on we will start descending towards 6,000 and this will be our path. We will turn left and turn back right and approach the runway. Here it is the end of the descent and touchdown point. Okay, we set the auto brake, we need to set the reference speed. I think it's time to set it just to be on the safe side. At this point you can set it. You can go to the init page and we can choose one of these three values. Let's choose a 30-degree flaps with 139 knots speed, and we will select this and enter it here, drag required, so we can engage the speed brake in the meantime. Yeah, because of the descent we have higher speed, and we can see here the reference speed appeared. Here it is, 30 flaps, 139 speed. The system will add about 5. Usually is choosing a higher speed than this one, but apparently that was sometimes higher, sometimes lower. Theoretically shall be around 144. Probably will be something like 144 and above the touchdown speed. We will see on the MCP speed indicator when the time comes. At this moment we can intervene and choose a lower speed if this will not go lower. At this moment we are in the right direction with the speed. We set our reference speed and our checklist is complete. We can check the other. Okay, we will not use this. Fixed landing light on, passenger sign is needed. Okay. We have to set the altimeter, of course, at transition level and update the required navigation for precision. We don't need to upgrade this one. We are at 10,000 feet. We are approaching the altimeter setting moment. This will turn yellow, or orange. Yes, orange. So we can set the altimeter to standard. Our speed is high. We want lower speed. Check the speed brake is up. Okay, now the speed is lower. I can go on lower. I can go to 20 just to be on the safe side. Let's select our next altitude. Our proposed speed is 244, 6,000 above, and our next altitude will be 3,000 with the speed 197. We can start to use the flaps. Our speed evaluation and start to use the flaps for slowing down the plane. Let's set our next altitude of 3,000.
1,000 to go. Closing to our deceleration point. Let's make the announcement. Gatehouse altimeter is set. Okay, landing light. Let's finish up this. Landing light is on. And go to the system and make the announcement for landing. Now things are getting
coming up faster and faster, so we have to pay attention.
Please take note of your large personal devices must be turned off and stowed. You may continue to use your small electronic devices, but they must be unplugged and set to airplane mode and secured. As a reminder, carry-on items should be securely stowed either under the seat in front of you or in the overhead compartment.
Below that.
Please ensure your seatbelts are fastened, seatbags and pay cables are upright, and your headrests are lowered.
Okay, speed brake is on, but it's not extended. It's good.
Prepare the cabin for arrival and be seated.
The brake is set. We are all set. Course is set. Now we have a lot of haze. Flaps 5. As the flaps spike is coming up and aligning with the speed indicator, we can switch the next flaps. I think this is good for the moment. We are approaching our initial approach fix, which is FI-29, this one I think. And at that point we will have to be with the gear down and final, or almost final flaps setting. Let's set our next
1,000 to go.
which is, let's say, 400, which is below the level of the runway. Flaps 10. We have the diamonds, the ILS frequency is captured and announced, ILS OEX, heading 291, distance 11.6 nautical miles, 11.5 now, ILS. The horizontal diamond is full diamond and it's more or less aligned. The vertical one is out of range and is an empty diamond. When this will switch to a full diamond, then we will start the approach mode. We will switch to 15 and gear goes down.
2,500.
We are approaching our initial approach fix. Flaps 25. It's close to our reference speed. We can hit the localizer button. And we have 2 full diamonds, so we already can hit the approach button. Horizontal localizer is acquired, the glide slope is armed, it's white, G/S. At the beginning we are running on single channel, so we don't need to switch on the second one. Now the glide slope is acquiring. can hit the other autopilot button as well. So now we have both flight directors working. This moment we are descending with flaps 25. Because the glide slope in the localizer is acquired and we are on the glide slope, we can move the altitude back to the holding altitude. So if something goes wrong, we can prepare our holding altitude, which is around 5,000 feet as far as I remember. I don't want to check now because I don't want to disturb the automatic landing system, which is quite sensitive as I have observed. So it's better that you don't touch anything at this moment. Just check if everything goes well. Land 3 appeared. Now both autopilots are working.
1,000 feet stabilized, Mr. Perch,
And
altitude set.
rollout and flare mode are armed. I can do the final flaps extension. Flaps 30 now. We are around the reference speed. Puppy lights are well visible, too white, too red for the moment. It's very good. Engines are in go around mode.
300.
Go around. Time 8.2 the limit.
200.
So far so good.
100.
This is looking good.
50. 40. 30. 20.
Now we have
10.
flare rollout. It's a bit hard. And we are down. We can apply some reverse thrust.
$80 knots.
Around 40 knots.
If you have all of your personal belongings, and be careful in opening overhead compartments. You're now free to use your mobile phones and small lightweight devices in transmit mode. If you are connecting, please check the United app on your mobile device or to the airport display for up-to-date flight status and gate information. On behalf of United,
Auto
our
brake is
airline
off.
partners, and your entire
Welcome
flight
to
crew, thank you for flying with summer skies with us today. We hope you had a pleasant experience, and we look forward to starting you again on another United flight.
We are approaching the runway. touchdown is a bit hard, but for this big plane it's better to be a bit harder landing than check out our tablet, which is just lit up by the sun at this moment. We go to the fuel, weight and balance. We can see 3 stars here, which is a good landing. It's not excellent, but it's bearable. So this is the minimum requirement is met, so we can say it's reasonable. This was our flight to Vienna with automatic takeoff and automatic landing. Goodbye, take care and fly high.